Good afternoon, Marine.
Good afternoon.
Tell me your name and where you're from.
I'm George Douglas McAdoo. I'm currently from Bullhead City, Arizona, by way of Yuma, Arizona, Cambridge, Maryland, and Vallejo, California.
Okay. You can tell me your story about MASS-3 and your Marine experience.
Okay. I arrived at MASS-3 on 20 December 1966. It was a rainy day, and to my good fortune, Captain Masitis was driving a Jeep up the hill to the area and stopped and gave me a ride to the top of the hill. Otherwise, I would have had to slog through about 6 inches of red mud, which was very rarely gone. My first duties at MASS-3 was mess duty for 30 days. I had the privilege of serving the Christmas evening 1966 dinner. And after my mess duty was over, I went directly to guard duty and experienced the thrill of being terrified for 2 weeks. And after that, I went directly to desk duties and was taught by several of the members that were there already how to operate the radios and correctly direct aircraft, and worked out pretty well. I ended up going on one field mission to Camp Evans with the 2nd Battalions of the 4th, 9th, and 26th Marines. It was a fairly small-sized operation, covered a large area, but one of the battalions ended up discovering and capturing 800 tons of enemy equipment, which I had the privilege of directing a helicopter to drop those arms in right out close to our command post. And General Westmoreland and General Lewis and several in the CG of the 3rd Mardiv, and I guess by then he was Premier Nguyen Cao Ki, all came and inspected those arms, and they were very happy with what we had found. And from there I went back to Chulai, and I spent from May until August of '67 in Chulai, and then I went up to Da Nang, where the MASS-3 DASC had taken over the operations of the MASS-2 DASC. And I spent until December of '67 there, and I extended my tour. And I went on leave, and on the day I flew back into Da Nang, they were still fighting NVA off the runway from the Tet Offensive. And we were, as I said, took over the operations of MASS-2, but they still had personnel in their area, and I had checked my weapon in with MASS-2. And when I went to retrieve my weapon, the armorer told me I had to go all the way to Chulai and check in with my home unit before I could issue a weapon. I informed him that there was a war going on, and it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard of, but he refused to reissue my weapon to me. So I went back to Chulai, commandeered a helicopter through the DASC, and they took me directly to the airfield in Chulai, and I hitchhiked to our area, or to actually to Kiha, and I hitched a ride up the road to our area at MASS-3 and checked in, and still without a weapon. I spent the night in Chulai, and I got another helicopter back to Da Nang the next day, and when I got there, I found out that the hill had been overrun the night I was gone, much to my distress. And 3 good Marines were killed on top of the hill last night, but they did end up repelling the attack. And then I spent from February to mid-March at Da Nang, and we were busy as all get out. Airstrikes and medevacs and resupplies being run all over the place at our direction, and then they tried to move in the U.S. Army helicopter divisions, and they wanted to put a radar screen in our desk and have us control all of those helicopters. We set up the radar screen, and we took one look at it and saw all these streaks and blips and everything all over the place. There's no way we can do this. So we discontinued trying to control the Army aircraft other than by giving us their position and us flying them safely through other aircraft and artillery fire. And then on the 15th of March, I got orders to go to Quezon, where I joined Colonel Goddard, who was then a major, who I also had known him at Chulai. I hadn't seen him since duty at Chulai. And he left shortly after, and then I was joined by Captain Skip Fish and Lieutenant Noel. And we just had a great old time, keeping our people safe and keeping our heads down. And that's about all I have to say. If you have questions.
Well, tell us what you liked about your service with MASS-3.
The service I had with MASS-3, I met a lot of really good people. We all cared for each other and watched each other's back. And one great story, there was a group of us in Chulai. We used to go to a MAX-7 enlisted club, and we'd drink all the beer we possibly could before the club closed. And then we'd find our way somehow back to the MASS-3 area, and a couple of nimble people would get into the mess hall and purloin a couple of pounds of butter. We would take 1 pound of butter and go across the street to Force Logistics Command Bravo's bakery. And we would trade the bakers 1 pound of butter for 2 loaves of bread. And then we would take 1 of those loaves of bread and a cube of butter to an Army officers club and find an Army second lieutenant and exchange a loaf of bread and a 1/4 pound of butter for a bottle of whiskey and continue our goings on. To my knowledge, no one ever found out about the disappeared butter from the bakery, or from the mess hall. And we just had a great old time.
Well, were there any unusual things that happened to you while you were there?
Other than almost getting killed a few times and almost getting shot down by a SAM missile when we were doing an operation, an airborne DASC over Dong Ha, not much.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.